Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you here to the penultimate race of Season 2 of the MSFC here at the new track of the Pantheon, the Hippodrome. Here as we look at the overall standings, Team Fire taking the points lead for the first time after Hawk's second place finish in the last race. They hold a fragile 1 point lead over Klaus and a 6 point advantage over the Pantheon. The Camo Hiders and Starry Sky are also less than a race back, so the top 5 is still very close. But once again, it's time for me to hand the mic over to our guest commentator for today.
Good morning and welcome everyone. I am your guest commentator Orsa, and I would be honored to welcome you to the Hippodrome as Alpha now starts his run. Already into the straightaway section now. Around the turn. Looks to be making decent time, Alpha does for the host team. Around the slower part of the track now, Alpha on this very same track during the MSFL Event 8 Marathon of Season 4 when the Pantheon hosted, came in 6th on this track after starting from dead last. So if Alpha can get a good qualifying time here, which I believe this should be a decent time, Alpha should be able to get a better finish than he did back then. Now here's an interesting selection for this race. Starry Sky have decided to go with Zero instead of Blink, despite Blink's amazing performance on this track at the MSFL when Blink went from 11th starting position to first by a mile. But Zero is still doing all right, just 2300ths back of Alpha, which is not too much of a deficit. Looking still pretty good on this slower section. Through the second sector, still only 0.71 back, but this part of the track means a lot, and Zero hits the attenuator head on. That's going to lose him a lot of speed. For Starry Sky is going to be well behind Alpha, already back behind Alpha's time is going to be 46 second time, for 46.13, going to be well back of Alpha's time. Opal is another interesting marble here, a rookie during Season 3, and one that showed promise early on, but has kind of let off the gas for Night Raid, has not done well recently. Does look better than Zero here, only 1100ths back. Through the S's, through the slower section over on the right here. Still looking to be keeping decent pace, but it is the third sector that has messed a lot of marbles up. Opal still making decent time here and does look better than Zero. We'll see if this can challenge Alpha's time. I think it's going to be close. Opal around the final turn. I don't think we'll beat Alpha, but we'll definitely get close. 7500ths back. That is a pretty good time from what we've seen. As now Bedlam. Bedlam is a marble that could end a lot right here. With Team Fire sitting atop the standings, Bedlam is going to need a good race in order to set up Magnum well for the future. Magnum obviously has not raced as well as Bedlam. And now Bedlam is kind of going to need a very good performance. The Pantheon have sent their second racer, Alpha, and then with them being only 8 points back of the leaders, Team Fire, that could also mean a lot. Bedlam and Electra, who is also racing today, will need to sort of put their best foot forward right now, get the Pantheon out of title contention before Vertigo is able to do any damage on Sunday. Bedlam, around the final turn. Run looks good here. Actually, it's very good. We'll go purple in the last sector, only 1800ths behind Alpha, which is huge for that team. Bedlam would obviously prefer not to lose to Alpha this race. If he can stay in front of Alpha, that could put the Pantheon in a really bad position, would force Vertigo to have to do really well on Sunday in order to catch them. And that goes for Team Fire as well when they do run. Here's a team that's had a little bit less success, Iron Brotherhood. Iron Brotherhood have actually had more top half finishes than bottom half finishes, but 0 podiums means I believe they sit in 10th right now. Fire can fact check me on that in the little subtitles. 3800s back, decent. 127 back now. I think that's the worst we've seen of a marble coming out of the second sector. but clear for the Iron Brotherhood. Still looking decent coming around the final turn. Will not challenge the top few times. Actually going to get closer to 0, despite I thought that final sector looked decently good. Now here is the marble that scares a lot of teams, and for very good reason. Electra has been phenomenal all season for Team Silver, and they could do some real damage here if they qualify well, which it looks like they're on pace to. 2200's back of Alpha, but Alpha has had the best first sector we've seen so far. Electra actually looking, maybe, is that a little bit slower than we've seen across the Hippodrome feature of this track? It's eponymous feature, you could say. I actually don't know if that's the correct usage of the word, but whatever. Electra, I think, is looking a bit slower. 2 seconds back, more than 2 seconds back. Closer to 3, actually. This could be disastrous for Electra if they're not able to keep pace with Bedlam. Team Fire could seriously lose a lot of points on both the Pantheon and Klaus, and with them going into the final race with their second racer, that could bode unfortunately for them. Another team sending their first racer in today is Wyvern Rumble with their Physics Phonetics uniforms on. Chipper, going to need a decent finish for a team that is, I believe, has been mid-pack this entire season, and 3400's back is not a bad time. Needs to avoid the mistake that Electra made, and will. Electra has to feel kind of disappointed after this. Their title rivals right now are top 2, the Camo Hiders yet to run, and Starry Sky, well, that's 0 for you. But Electra will definitely have to generate something magical in the race if they want to set up Team Fire best, set up Hawk best on Sunday. Meanwhile, Chipper, this last sector has looked slower, will not challenge Alpha's time. I believe is going to be closer to clear. Yeah, we'll actually slot in behind clear, closer to Electra. Zorro now, for a team that started off hot, but has kind of had more unfortunate circumstances for their racers. As of late, you're beginning to wonder if they have the stamina to continue to be in the top half. But Zorro looks pretty good here. I wouldn't call this field weak, but it's going to be weaker than most. Weaker than the average, I would say. Despite marbles like Alpha, Bedlam, Electra all running. And Zorro is still keeping pace pretty well. If Zorro can get a good last sector, which it looked like they will, Zorro can maybe challenge Alpha for the lead. Oh, this is going to be close. 2200's back, just 400ths behind Bedlam. That was a very good run from Zorro and a very good third sector. Here's Vorpal, a marble that kind of came out of nowhere over the course of this season and showed a lot of marbles that talent can come from the most unlikely of places. 4300's back does not look too good for the Camo Hiders. Vorpal is racing for a team that, honestly, either of their racers can do something dangerous in pretty much any race. I would not put it past Hero to do very well on Sunday. Vorpal is not exactly keeping pace, but it's not too far back either. If this marble can qualify well, we know they can race well. Vorpal around the final turn to keep the Camo Hiders in the fight. Not a bad time. Slots them in 5th, so they won't be a part of the title battle. But still look decent. Showmaker, a marble that got their first really decent finish on last Sunday. And is going to need to do something pretty spectacular to put their team, honestly, back into any fight. Showmaker has been lackluster for this team overall. Actually ran this track during the MSFL Season 4. Got 10th, I believe, after a rough hit from Black Rose, who is not racing today. Electra and Zorro also ran that race, by the way, and finished 3rd and 4th respectively, so it makes sense if we would see good performances from those two, even though Electra qualified poorly. It is important to note that Electra started on pole, I believe, that race, so maybe without a good start, she can't do much on this track, but that remains to be seen in the actual race. Showmaker slotting in at 1.2 seconds back. Actually, that is a pretty good qualifying time, especially for that marble who's been pretty lackluster all season. Glaive now. Moon Melodies have been, for the first time ever, really, they haven't recovered from their mid-season collapse, and Glaive is going to be racing out of a bit of desperation here to claw something back for that team. I would argue Glaive is their number one racer here, so that's another number one racer that's racing here. But Glaive does look slower than our best marbles through the slower section. Glaive also ran this track during the MSFL and did not finish, actually. Got stuck on the conveyor belt before the final lap could commence. 2.92 seconds back. This will not be a good lap for Glaive. I believe they will avoid last, but not by much. 8th. Not a terrible finish, but they were definitely hoping for better. Last but not least is Jasper of the Icy Hots, who has shown some promise, actually. More promise than I think a lot of people expected from this marble. But if there's any marble that can kind of come out of nowhere, win an event, it's Jasper. We saw that in Season 2 with the Sand Rally. A lot of people were expecting a marble like Vertigo to win that one. But Jasper is staying strong here and is looking pretty fast. We'll see if they can keep this up. Still looks good through the S's here. And they get to the front stretch with a decent amount of speed. 1.76 back. Jasper still looks good. Across the front stretch, there's a decent amount of speed here. Maybe Jasper can challenge for top 5. I don't think so. But it's going to be close. 1.91 back. That'll be 7th. That'll be a decent finish for that marble. Decent position to start in, as now we have our race for pole, our Q2. And Alpha will be starting us off, getting in first by a mile, actually. Zorro in second, keeping off Bedlam. Alpha is going to need a good race, but they're also going to need to hold Bedlam away from them as... Oh, a lot of speed by Opal, but they're going to go right into the back of Bedlam. And those three are kind of jostling for positions right now. Bedlam makes a good pass on Zorro, and Opal takes advantage as well. Zorro trying to make the pass but can't, as Alpha is kind of streaking off into the distance. We'll see how much that lead actually is once we get to the conveyor belt, but right now Bedlam... I think Bedlam's actually making up ground. This could be huge for Klaus if they are to get a podium. They're going to track down Team Fire. Oh my goodness, Opal. I just saw that. That was unfortunate, but Opal hit the attenuator head on and is going to be very, very distant fourth for the rest of this qualifier. As now we head to the second of 2 qualifying laps. Alpha, I think, is slower. I think is going to be slower than Bedlam. Bedlam has enough to try to make a charge for pole, and it would be a very valuable point if Bedlam does get pole for the battle against Team Fire and against the Pantheon. Alpha keeping it clean. Alpha has extended his lead a little bit once more. If he can keep clear of Bedlam, which I think he will, no problem with the attenuator there. Alpha will be your pole sitter for the race at the Hippodrome.